My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for The Nun. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But The Nun is based on the demon from The Conjuring 2, and if you know me, you know I love The Conjuring 2. It might just be in my top 30 movies of all time. Like, it's one of the scariest movies ever made, and it's so well made and acted, and The Nun is just legitimately terrifying in that movie. So when I heard they were making an entire movie based on The Nun, I was unbelievably excited. And does this movie live up to my high expectations? No. I did not like this movie the first time I saw it, if I'm being honest, and it got really bad reviews. Like, it seems like everybody hates this movie. But the more I sat with this movie, the more I started to look fondly on it as just a fun, spooky movie. So I just rewatched it for the first time, and I think this movie gets way too much hate. I think it is a very entertaining movie. But let's begin talking about the setting because I just love this old church building that this movie takes place in. It's just filled with so much atmosphere, and you've also got yourself this great graveyard setting and some catacombs eventually. So, like, I loved the setting that this movie takes place in. It really does add to the overall experience, and I think Cohen Hardy directs it incredibly well. I think this movie's got a good grasp on atmosphere and tension, and I love how so many of the scares rely on the camera movements. Like, the camera will go to the right, and then when it goes back to the left, there's something there. And it gets done time and time again, but I thought it was an effective tool. And like, there are some scenes that really got to me. Like, there's this old nun you see a few times in this movie, and anytime she appears, you have no idea if it's Valak or an actual old nun. So those moments keep you on edge. And then there was this one scene that is similar to the painting scene in The Conjuring 2, where you just see Valak's shadow making its way through this room up until you can see her in this meal. And it's just masterful. It had me on edge. It's just this slow dread that really sticks with you. And okay, look, I'm a defender of jump scares. I think they can really add to the experience, but I don't like the jump scare right after that. I think it kind of cheapens the moment a bit, but the build up was still incredible. And I love the music by Abel Kozanowski. You know, he takes certain beats from The Conjuring 2, but it really does enhance this movie. The it just, anytime I hear that and you see the nun, it just gets under my skin and it's effective quite a bit. And I also like the story. It's very simple, but it just goes in some very silly directions that I enjoyed. Like, eventually, they've got to take the blood of Jesus and use it to close a portal to hell. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's great. Could have been a bit campier, but I still enjoyed it regardless. And I also do like how nun-filled this movie is. Like, you've got old nuns, you've got frozen nuns, you've got undead nuns, you've got nuns on fire. They just took this premise and gave you every kind of nun you could imagine. So that's good. You've also got yourself a pretty decent cast. Damien Bichir, I thought, did a perfectly fine job. I like Jonas Blucret as Frenchie. I thought he had lots of life and personality, and he elevated every scene he was in. And I do like Tisa Farmiga. I think she gives a good performance, but unfortunately, her sister is Rhea Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warren, a character from the same universe. And when you look exactly like another character, I kept waiting for some plot reveal that just never happened, and I found it to be a distracting casting choice. None of that is on her or her performance. Just, I would have hired someone else personally. But then we got to the issues with this movie, and even though I do think it has some moments that had me on edge, like I watched this movie by myself in the middle of the night, and it did get to me, but it's still like nowhere near as scary as The Conjuring or The Conjuring 2 or even Annabelle Creation. It's got enough atmosphere and tension and enough scares, but I really wish it was amped up a bit. And there are some scenes that are just poorly done, like the scene with Damien Bichir falling into the coffin. I feel like that moment could have been much better. And despite my love for jump scares, some of them just don't work here and they just feel a little cheap. Also, some of the rules are just made up nonsense. Like, Valak possesses the nun, and you don't see Valak. But then when she's forced out of her body, they're separated. Like, you see Valak in the girl. But then Valak possesses Frenchie, but she's still outside his body, and then Frenchie is possessed, but only kind of possessed until years after. What? Like, what's going on there? I don't really think that makes much sense. And also the fact that the portal to hell happened to be in that body of water, I don't think it was previously established in the movie at all. So I wish that was set up a bit better. There's also one moment where everybody splits up, and for the life of me, I don't know why. Once again, I know it's a whole movie cliche, but it just didn't make sense here. There was some obvious foreshadowing early on with Mary points the way, which I thought was pretty poorly written, and yeah, but anything else? I actually do like the twist that the nuns weren't really there. I think it's actually a pretty smart and a pretty effective moment. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it's a great movie. Like I said, it's not terrifying, but it's scary enough to have a spooky fun time. I love the setting. I think Corin Hardy directs this movie very well. I love how he plays around with the camera. And Valak is just a very menacing presence. And, you know, whenever she's at the end of a hallway and the lights coming towards you or getting darker and darker as she's getting closer and closer, I can't help but think to myself, yeah, this is a good movie. So I'll give The Nun a 6 out of 10. I'm very excited for The Nun 2, and I think it's going to be better than people are expecting because it's written by Akilah Cooper, and she wrote Malignant and Megan, two of the best horror movies that have come out recently. So that, yeah, like, I'm really excited. But what are your thoughts on The Nun? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.